The most valuable object ever created doesn't exist. Not in the way a chair exists, not in the way a mountain exists. The dollar in your wallet right now is worth exactly what it's worth because roughly 8 billion people woke up morning and silently agreed it was. That's it. That's the whole trick. And here's what makes that genuinely insane. We've been pulling this trick for 5,000 years. We've done it with seashells. We've done it with salt. We've done it with giant stone discs on a tiny Pacific island that were so heavy nobody could move them, so they just left them in the middle of the village and agreed everyone could still own a piece. There are families in Micronesia whose ancestors traded for a fraction of a stone 300 years ago. The stone hasn't moved, nobody's touched it, but the wealth is still there, passed down through generations, because everyone in the village agreed to keep agreeing. And before you feel too smug about that, you have money in a bank account, not physical money, a number on a server somewhere that could theoretically stop existing. The Micronesian stone is more real than your savings account. Let that sit. Now here's how this actually started. Around 3000 BC in Mesopotamia, modern Iraq, people had a problem. Barter doesn't scale. If you grow wheat and need sandals, you need to find a sandal maker who specifically needs wheat right now in the exact quantity you have. Economists call this the double coincidence of wants. The ancient Sumerians called it exhausting. So they invented clay tablets, not coins. Tablets. You'd deposit grain at a central temple storehouse. They'd hand you a piece of clay that recorded how much grain you had on deposit, then you'd trade the tablet. You weren't trading wheat, you were trading the idea of wheat, a promise, written in mud. That's the invention of money, a promise written in mud. And it worked because everyone agreed it worked. Fast forward to 600 BC. The Lydians in what's now Western Turkey mint the first official coins. Electrum, a naturally occurring alloy of gold and silver, stamped with a lion's head. The king guarantees this. Notice what's happening. It's still a promise, but now it's a promise with a lion on it, which apparently made it more convincing. The coin spread, and for about 600 years, everyone was fine. Then China looked at coins and thought, these are too heavy. In 800 AD, the Tang dynasty introduced jiaozi, the world's first paper money, a piece of paper, backed by the emperor's word, worthless if the emperor falls, worthless if the empire collapses, worthless if anyone stops believing. But it worked, for a while. Here's where it gets darkly funny. Between 1260 and 1368, the Mongol Yuan dynasty printed so much paper money, just kept printing it, kept issuing it, that they triggered the world's first hyperinflation. Prices doubled, then doubled again, then doubled again. The paper money became, and this is documented, used primarily for wallpaper. They turned their currency into wallpaper. This is not a metaphor. Historians have records of people literally using the worthless bills to decorate their homes. The Mongols invented quantitative easing and used it to accidentally wallpaper China. In 1971, Richard Nixon ended the last link between the dollar and gold. Before that, every dollar in circulation represented a specific amount of gold sitting in a vault somewhere. After 1971, nothing. The dollar was backed by, and this is the official term, the full faith and credit of the United States government. Faith, the official backing of modern global currency, is faith. Your money is a religion with better marketing. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Every civilization that ever collapsed, Rome, the Han Dynasty, the Weimar Republic, Zimbabwe in 2008, the money didn't fail because the economy failed. The economy failed because the money failed. Because money isn't a tool that tracks value. Money is value. When the belief breaks, the value breaks with it. In 2008, Iceland's entire banking system collapsed in 72 hours. Not because the fish disappeared, not because the buildings fell down. The actual country, the land, the people, the resources was identical on Tuesday that it was on Monday. The belief changed. That's it. The whole country got poor because enough people stopped believing at the same time. You felt a version of this, not at a national scale, but you've had a moment where something you thought was solid turned out to be contingent, a job, a relationship, a plan. A version of yourself you'd built a whole life around. And you know what it feels like when the thing that was real stops being real. It feels exactly like losing money you didn't know you were holding. Here's the actual history of money. Every generation invents a new object and agrees to believe in it together. The object works, sometimes for a week, sometimes for 1,000 years. Then the agreement weakens through war, corruption, inflation, loss of faith, and the object stops working, and the next generation does it again. We have been performing this ritual continuously before writing existed. The history of money is not a story of increasing sophistication. It's a story of increasing collective commitment to a shared fiction that keeps being just believable enough to work. Bitcoin was invented in 2009, 8 months after the global financial system nearly destroyed itself. Satoshi Nakamoto, a person or group of people whose identity nobody has ever confirmed, published the document saying, what if we made the belief system explicit? What if we removed the middleman, the king, the emperor, the central bank, and just had the math? No faith required, just code. Except, and this is the part that keeps me up, Bitcoin only works if you believe in it. It's a belief system that advertises itself as a non-belief system. The entire pitch is, unlike fiat currency, this isn't based on trust. But you have to trust the math. You have to trust the network. You have to trust that other people will trust it tomorrow. It's a church that calls itself an algorithm, which means after 5,000 years of shells and clay and salt and gold and paper and ones and zeros, we still haven't solved the problem. We just keep finding new objects to believe in together. And maybe that's not a bug. Maybe the whole point of money was never the object. Maybe it was always the agreement, the act of two strangers looking at the same thing and deciding without speaking that it means something. That is either the most human thing we've ever done, or it's the thing that proves we've been making it up this whole time. And I genuinely cannot tell which one should comfort you more.